saying they're optimistic on trying to get him more targets in the offense. So, worst case, like, he's where he was last year, and I think maybe it's a bit of a, you're drafting him a little too high, but if he improves a little bit, he's going to be a steal in the third round. And, I don't see much difference with him and really Nick Chubb, who's going early second. Chubb doesn't get targets, and, I could see Dobbins this year with like 1,200 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, which is what you would expect out of Chubb, and he's going at the 1-2 turn. So, I think getting him in the third round is a great value.
Great value can be found in the oddest places sometimes. And I get a lot of heat because when I first introduced to football, Derek, I was captivated and motivated and just completely entertained by Darryl LaMonica and the Mad Bomber of the then Oakland Raiders. It was a whole new kind of football for me. Much better than watching 3 yards in a cloud of dust and what was the NFL then. I was an AFL guy. And, it's just fond memories and nostalgia for me when I talk about the Raiders. And now they're being in Las Vegas, and, we'll be out there for the FFPC, and so will the Baltimore Ravens week 1. And I'm curious in week 1, because I don't know how Jacobs and company will run the ball against the Ravens. I'm curious as who Derek Carr is going to go to beside his stellar tight end, Darren Waller. And we hear about all the time that Gruden is taking receivers. And I think he should, because the depth chart to me is not that impressive. I wish he would take some of the correct receivers. But nevertheless, who will you be keeping your eye on, and are you drafting any Raider offensive threats besides Jacobs and Waller?
Yeah, so it's definitely not great there. In a lot of best balls, I've been pairing John Brown and Henry Ruggs. I feel like that's a good move. In terms of like redraft, it's tough. The guy I would go with would be Henry Ruggs. Just like, following him on Twitter, this offseason, it seems like he's, gotten bigger. And last year he had a lot of injuries. I think he had 2 or 3 different injuries. And
he was the first wide receiver taken in the draft last year.
Yeah. So, they're not going to give up on him. Yeah, he's their guy. And, like, his average depth of target was, 16, 17 yards last year, which is the highest in the league. So I think if they can get him sort of, involved in some different passing routes, sort of shorter distance, because that's how he was used at Alabama. He wasn't really this big, play guy. His ADOT was lower than, 17 back in college. So if they can sort of switch that around and he stays healthy, I think he can be a decent wide receiver 4 on a redraft team.
I'm so glad that you didn't say Hunter Renfrow. And, there's a lot of people looking forward to our first weekend of football. I'm looking forward to seeing Hunter Renfrow displaced from the Raider lineup and Willie Snead go onto the field and just block the hell out of his old Baltimore teammates. So that's what I'm I kind of get my jollies from different sorts of players. So,
I had to start Renfrow in my flex spot last year in a couple of spots, and let me tell you, it was not good,
How do you get on your roster? Is the missus playing around in free agency a little bit? How'd that happen?
I'd have to look back, but I think injuries and I think he had a decent start to the season last year, the first half, from what I remember. A lot of 6 for 60s, which is 12 points. So in your flex,
I don't think he had that. I don't think he had that. You got to go back. And I'm telling you from someone who lived it along with you. So, not holding a grudge or anything, but I just have a good memory. I didn't think he had many startable games.
So.
Derek, now before you already know where these guys are going. These Seattle Seahawks I'm about to ask you about. For the listeners' sake, I'm going to bring it up right now before I ask you this question. I'm wondering what you think the best investment is in football guys drafts at the moment among these Seattle Seahawks? Is it Chris Carson right now? Chris Carson, who, by the way, is going at running back 18 at the 311. Is it DK Metcalf? DK Metcalf is wide receiver 8 going at the 303, so another third-round Seattle pick. Or do you think it's a little bit later on? Tyler Lockett, wide receiver 26 at the 603. Which is the best expensing of draft capital between those three players?
Yeah. I think you could even throw in Russell Wilson in this. Like, he's going very late for quarterbacks. But for these three guys, DK is going to like the 2-3 turn. You'll see Carson in the, middle third, maybe early fourth. But the guy I've been drafting a lot is Tyler Lockett. Just like in the last 7 days, from Fantasy Mojo sort of data, he's going in like the 6th or the 6th and the 7th round. But when I started drafting early May in these FPCs, he was going in like the 8th round, sometimes 9th, which is why I have been drafting a lot just because of these insane values. But I would go with Lockett. In terms of like production, like it was very similar last year. I think Metcalf had like 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns, and Lockett was around 1,010. So the discrepancy there with DK and Lockett, I think, is a little too big. And if Lockett keeps those poor games limited a little bit more this year, I think he could be a solid wide receiver 2, low end wide receiver 1 that you're getting pretty late.
The decisions like that is what propelled you to a 3-division championship last year in the 3 main event divisions in the FFPC. I get the feeling that this is a step up for you this year. It is for me too. I'm enjoying the slow drafts and I've never drafted this much, and it. I wish I could say that my drafting had been prompted by such exceptional play as you had. So you're gonna. Am I to take that this is the first live main event in the FFPC for you?
Correct.
Or
yeah.
Are you?
First,
Are you? Oh, okay, good.
Oh, wait,
you're
sorry.
going to have
I've been in 4 FFPC main event leagues that have been online, but this will be my first one like live in Vegas. Yeah.
You're gonna have a blast.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be great to have you out there, and I look forward to meeting you. And I think more people should copy that. And I agree with you. Drafting early allows you to see these valuable the situations that get involved with players that by August and by the live draft you probably can't get at these bargain prices. In addition to Lockett, do you have another guy that you've just really targeted or really noticed that you say, man, I'm so happy I can get my hands on this player?
Yeah. In terms of like a sleeper, I feel like every draft I leave with Darnell Mooney. It could be the Bears fandom in me, but he's going in the like 12, 13, maybe even 14th round. And, look, if Dalton plays next year, he'd probably, he's not going to be much better than he was his rookie year. But if Fields, gets on the field, week 2, week 3, like he's a deep ball thrower, and Mooney's a really good, explosive, deep ball threat guy. So, I think they could have a connection, and he could put up decent, maybe low end wide receiver 2 numbers. So I feel like every FPC draft I'm leaving with Mooney.
We want to get to some feedback from the listeners here for you tonight, Derek. The first question is a guy I'm sure you've drafted against in the Football Guys Players Championship this year. He's actually in a draft right now, and that's why he's not listening live like he normally is. But Hudson Kern-Reeve, the Wasp guy, wants to know if you think DeAndre Swift's ADP should start sinking, giving the head coach there, Dan Campbell, and Anthony Lynn, the OC, the sort of their hot hand approach that they've been talking up with the Lions running backs with Jamal Williams, with DeAndre Swift, and now, speaking with Todd Gurley, too. And we'll see if he comes aboard in Detroit. But you look at Swift's ADP here. Currently, he is being drafted as the 17th running back off the board at the 303. Is that too high? You think it's going to come down? What's your crystal ball say on where Swift's ADP is going to go over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, so I don't think his ADP is going to go much lower than it is right now. I took my first share of Swift in that draft on Monday, actually, in the third round. I wasn't buying any of Swift when he was going like early second to even mid-second, just because, you're having to pass up like Diggs and A.J. Brown's not the Adams, DeAndre Hopkins. Like, those are guys I want on my team over Swift. But, those concerns are valid. They have a lot of guys in the backfield, and it seems like Jamal Williams, he's going to get maybe 30-40% of the touches there. So it's tough, but, I'm still taking him in the early to mid-third right now. So
draft DeAndre Swift with confidence is the line that we're getting from Derek Kappes tonight. So good stuff there. Also, when we were talking about the Seattle Seahawks earlier, two players that we left out are two players that the Bourbon City Ballers Kevin Williamson is asking about. He wants to know for redraft, Dwayne Eskridge, Gerald Everett, are you interested in either of those players in the Football Guys Players Championship this year in Seattle?
Yeah, so I think I have some shares of Eskridge. I'm not sure how much he's going to get on the field early on in the year, but I think like Lockett's sort of putting him under his wing and showing him the ropes of the league. And, I think he could turn it on maybe later in the year, but in terms of redraft, he's someone who might be the last wide receiver you want on your bench, and you'll probably drop him and maybe pick him up again. But, he's definitely someone I would be interested in. Gerald Everett, I really have no idea on that guy. I would need to see more of him this preseason. I mean, he's the tight end one there, so you can't go wrong. Taking him in a tight end premium league, and he's going in like the 17th or maybe 15th or 18th rounds. So I like him. I don't have too many shares of him, but I think that's a player I need to look more into a little bit.
I think that's
tight end 21.
When somebody
Go ahead, Farrell.
Oh yeah, when somebody throws a player like that, and I'm hearing that player's name a lot. Go as deep as you can, Derek. Go back to his college days. Go back to what they thought of him when he came into the league. It's been a mystery to me why that player has not been given bigger opportunities. And go to that great Kansas City Rams game where both teams collectively pushed 100 points, and you'll get to see some Gerald Everett that is worth having. Balky, have you got another email, or can I find out who the stinker in Derek's list is at this point?
Yes, no, please go ahead, Farrell.
Buddy, you gave us your great sleeper. Now, this question, you've got a situation with players that maybe you're avoiding because of talent, or maybe, despite all these drafts that I've been in, for instance, I can't get a landing spot where I have drafted the standout running back from the Colts, Taylor. So, and I expect to before the season's over, but I got a lot of teams, and I don't have one single Taylor. So tell me somebody that is like that you're intentionally avoiding, or you're circumstantially not much in business with.
Yeah, so I think the guy for me I have 0 shares of is Chase Edmonds right now. Just looking at the data, it looks like he's going in I've seen him in the 5th round, which is insane, and lately he's been going in the 6th round. But I see him just having the same role as last season, and I've been drafting a lot of James Conner, who's going in the 10th round, and I see him sort of replacing Kenyon Drake's role from last year, and Edmonds just doing sort of what he did last year. So people are taking Edmonds over, like, Lockett's going in the 6th round now, T. Higgins, Ayuk. Like, it's pretty pricey for